Good morning. Thank you all for being here and for everyone who's made this possible. Yesterday was amazing, and I hope that we can continue in that today. I want to get right into it. This is an issue that requires a lot of dialogue. As Father General was talking about yesterday, dialogue and conversation are absolutely crucial for what we are doing here in the world. And it's particularly interesting because AI, of course, gives the impression of dialogue. If you were talking to these large language models, they produce a lot of words, but I wouldn't call it dialogue. So we will talk about all of these things as we're going forward today. AI is no joke, but I hope this panel is going to be both educational and amusing as we explore the good and the bad of AI. Now I'm just going to introduce our speakers. First we have Diego Patiño, who is the Dean of the School of Engineering here at Javeriana. Then we have Pablo Garayzar, professor at Deusto in Spain. We have Renato Cerqueira, who's the director of the Bering Institute of AI at PUC, Rio de Janeiro. We have Annick Castillo, the rector of the University of Namur in Belgium. We have 7-minute presentations, and they're going to be timed. And if necessary, I will find a large hook. Maybe we have a bishop staff or something like that that we can pull people off the stage with. But I turn it over now to Diego. The floor is yours.
So, good morning, everyone. So, thank you very much for being here. Good morning to my esteemed colleagues and fellows, explorers of the unknown. So, for me, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here, and I'm very honored and very humble to be in this panel among these educators, committed educators, researchers, and institutional leaders. I say hello with fellows explorers of the unknown because, you know, artificial intelligence in education is like driving a space aircraft without having a handbook and with assistant voice talking to you in riddles. So, but here we are bravely stepping in and trying to steer with purpose. So let's start with some reality check. So according to a 2024 global student survey by Digital Education Council, they made a survey, and this is the result that they show. So in this result, you can see that 86% of the students uses already artificial intelligence. So that's a very good number. But on the other hand, we have 72% of the students, they expect to be trained in artificial intelligence, about ethics, about how to use it. Translation, they are not asking for permission. They are asking for leadership. If we don't offer them that, they will follow the algorithm that shout the loudest, and also the marketing company, the AI company with the best marketing team. So it's up to us to teach them how to use it correctly and how to use it in an ethical way. So what we can say is AI is not just a tool, it's a cultural shift. So that's the idea. So that's why in this university we don't have right now a digital transformation office. We choose to have a digital policy here. So there is one thing that let's get it straight. So AI is not just a new technology. It's a new way, a new literacy, a new culture. So it's changing the way we teach, the way we learn, the way we evaluate, and even the way how we procrastinate. And yeah, I can show you some student prompts that can really surprise you. They are really good, and of course I have used them. So, but seriously, integrating AI into education is not about replacing professors with machines. It's about reimagining what humans can do when they are supported with intelligent system. Next thing. So. To structure this information, let me borrow a model proposed by Ethan Mollick. So thank you very much to to the Vice President of Extension and International Relationship from this university. He showed me this article a few weeks ago, which I find is a very useful article. So in this model, we have three points. We have leadership, we have labs, and we have crowds. So in leadership, sets the visions and creates safe space for change. Labs is a safe space for pilot, for learning, and also to test some specific things. So this is the idea is to have a safe environment. And the crowd, which give us some insights about what we need and also about the opportunities that we have. So in our case, this crowd could be the faculty, the staff, and the students. Of course, this is happening now. So last week, I was in a faculty meeting, and some of my professors said, "Hey, I used ChatGPT, and I found it a best syllabus than the one that we have." So we are using now this tool, and we have to listen to the people. So it's truly a learning loop. So how do we engage this community? We don't start by installing a software. We start by asking questions. So the idea is to survey the people, foster dialogue, launch some pilots, identify some champion. Of course, the most important thing is share stories. So culture doesn't shift with policy, it shifts with narrative. So that's the idea of the using of AI right now in education. Next one. But what is really AI? So I'm going to talk very fast about this. We are talking about AI, but nobody really knows what it is. So AI refers to computer algorithm that mimics the human intelligence, such as recognizing speech, understanding language, solving problems, making decisions, or learning from data. Inside AI, a subset is the machine learning, which is a subset that includes techniques that enable machines to improve some tasks with some experience. So in this case, we have the predictions and also the classification. And we have the deep learning, which uses a specific method, which is the neural networks. In this case, to reach accuracy conclusion without intervention. And we have also the generative AI, and this generative AI tries to give us new content based on what you can find. For example, image generation, and also writing some text. Next one. So this is a good framework to apply AI. So AI can be used to automate. Of course, this is related to have a better efficiency. And for example, in our case, it can be used to automate generation of contents and grading. Yes, there are some tools that are very useful for grading. And create some chatbots as well. So in this case, we are trying to automate some processes. In particular, the ones that are related with administrative stuff. They can be used also to discover, so provide insights. In this example, the AI can be used to provide insight on the learning and patterns of students, and recognize students' well-being and performance. It can be used as well for personalized, so to boost engagement. In this case, but some companies use the AI to do that. For example, Spotify, when you like a song, when you are in Spotify and you like a song, all the songs that begins to appear is going to be the song based on the one that you like. So it boosts the engagement. It can be used to predict, so provide insights. So in this case, for example, to identify at-risk student for early intervention. In the university, we have a platform to do that. We developed a platform to do that, which the name is SATIS. So in that case, we are predicting the student with the most risk of dropping out, and also to augment the learning. Actually, you are now using a translator, and this translator is based on AI. So in this case, is to provide, for example, yes, real-time language translation. So the idea of this part is to support inclusivity and accessibility for different persons. I'm just finishing, so sorry. And these are some examples, some different tools from AI. So for example, for faculty, we have the AI written assistant. So we have ChatGPT, Claude Pilot, for instance. We have also content creation tools for the designing lessons and interactive media as Curipod, Edpuzzle, and Canva AI. We have tools for assessment, so for grading. And we have also Turnitin to check the originality of our work. And we have some tools as well for predictive analysis, as Satis, the one that we developed here. We have Power BI, we have Tableau. Use it with AI is very interesting for institutional reporting and decision making. And we have, of course, the chatbot that we already know that can be used to student support process automation. Next one. And this is the final slide. I don't have too much time. So what I can say is that we don't need a grand AI revolution overnight. What we need is a commitment to move forward with purpose. Start small, with low risk, high impact pilots. That's important. Think big by connecting dots across departments and disciplines. Learn fast by treating failure as feedback. So the future of education is not about replacing professors and people with machines. It's about reimagining what humans can do when supported by intelligent systems. So let's not fear the future. We need to learn how to use these tools ethically and in the correct way. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. I will be very fast, so try to follow me. If you don't, I will be available to send you my presentation because I want to talk about a lot of things. First of all, I will say that AI in education is a very broad topic, so we have to differentiate between learning analytics, which is using educational data mining sorry, could you, follow as you want. So learning analytics is using educational data mining to conduct descriptive, predictive, and a lot of things, a lot of analysis that we can do with it, but it's somehow limited because it depends on the quality of the data. On the other hand, generative AI is based on the whole human knowledge storage in natural language, and it makes combinations of it that surprisingly they are useful for us. So on top of it, please follow and follow and follow and follow. On top of it, we create a wide landscape of tools that it's kind of overwhelming. So there are many different attitudes towards that. First of all, teachers. The adoption for teachers is very uneven. Some of them follow the ostrich strategy, which is if I cannot see it, it doesn't exist. They want to somehow dodge this ball as they did with blockchain or the metaverse. Other strategy for teachers is, sorry, previous one, is to acknowledge the presence of AI but don't change anything. There is another attitude that I called the techno-enthusiast, that they say that everything will change, that anything that we have done before is now obsolete. But in my opinion, proper digital literacy involves knowing when to use AI and when not to. So, ironically, teachers worry about the students using AI, but we love to use it by ourselves. Students, we don't believe the label or the myth about digital natives. They are not so tech-savvy. They use generative AI, following this Bloom taxonomy, to generate new things, to generate new ideas, to analyze information, but not to remember it. And this could be problematic. When they are overloaded, they tend to overuse AI. And they argue when we ban AI use because they say, well, you are preventing us to tools that will be available when we are working. But we have to distinguish here two different profiles. The input profile to the first 2 years of a university, there we develop the core skills, our fundamentals, our foundations of our learning, and there could be advisable to prevent AI use. But in the last years of our students, maybe we should encourage AI use because somehow we can mimic the professional environments. Regarding organizations, they suffer Martek's law because technology increases or changes exponentially very fast, while organizations changes logarithmically, very slow. There is a huge gap that generates a lot of tensions there. Fortunately, this is not really the case because there are some plateaus there in the growing, but we have to manage that. But here the real question is accountability. Who is responsible for the AI use in our universities? Will we do the same thing that we did with our email systems, online meeting systems, cloud storage, and we will delegate to big tech, or we will decide by ourselves? So we have to develop a proper digital literacy that involves technological aspects, not only knowing how to use these tools, but how they were built, to be critical about it and to remove all the magic from them. Also pedagogical stuff, learning about the impact in creativity, in student agency, cognitive depth, and those pedagogical aspects in order to develop better activities, better materials based on AI. We also be aware about psychological aspects because many of our students are using AI chatbots as life coaches. This can be very problematic and can derive into huge problems regarding social interactions and so on. On legal aspects, in Europe we are developing this AI Act framework, which is a good foundation, but we have to remember that legislation always arrives late. Finally, we have to address ethical aspects. We have to think about algorithmic biases, accountability, environmental impact, and the lack of alignment between the interests of those who are providing us with AI tools, the big techs, and the values of our universities. So in Deusto, we discussed about these all issues and published a white paper about it to help our staff, our faculty, our students dealing with all this mess. So to sum up, I will say that we are in a social moment where the pendulum is swinging towards the total ban of technological use in our classroom. But I think that the question is not whether we should use AI or not, but when, how, and why we should use it. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Next. Thank you. I'm Renato Cerqueira. I'm from PUC-Rio, Brazil, director of the PUC-Bering Institute of Artificial Intelligence. This is a recent initiative created at PUC in the beginning of this year that we are trying to address some of the challenges that actually was highlighted in our in the Father General speech yesterday. And I'll talk a little bit about this initiative where we are trying to advance the AI technology, also apply that in research and teaching in order to augment our capabilities in those activities, right? Next chart. So we have been hearing a lot about the challenge in the papers and the news. Our colleagues just covered some of those challenges. I'm trying to compare in the education and research, right, challenge that we face, like plagiarism, fairness bias, and when we use those tools to teach, right, data privacy, the increasing dependence of our students in AI tools, and of course, the professors are going the same path. In science, we have issues to reproduce results, how the data quality and compliance that are used for in those experiments. Several papers, some of those highlighted in the previous presentation in terms of how the use of those technologies can create what some authors call a scientific monoculture that replicate at scale a certain kind of epistemic approach to pursue new knowledge. But at the same time, next chart, please, we see opportunities that we cannot overlook, right? In education, to address problems in terms of how to use this technology to approach a larger number of students in some of the countries represented here, where we have a big problems in terms of education. We have to leverage all the technology and tools available to reach a larger set of students. And also, we have been doing some experiments that can be a great tool to include students with different education limitations and challenges. So we cannot deny those capabilities. In research, we see results every day in terms of how those technologies can help us to address very pressure challenge in our society. During COVID, we saw that and how that was important to go to analyze the data, to pursue new vaccines and so on. And we see those examples of challenges and opportunities everywhere. I would like to highlight some quotes from the speech of from the Father General yesterday that I think summarize a lot of the motivation behind the initiative that we started at PUC some time ago. He said that AI is not merely a technical challenge. It affects the core of what we do as universities. AI not only transforms how we conduct research, create knowledge, and teach, AI also impacts why we do what we do. I think that that touched me a lot, right? I think this is making us to think about what differentiates us human beings from the machines, right? And I think this, if we don't have a clear answer to that question, it's better to think about that fast. So, the next chart, please. We created this institute a few months ago with this vision that how we can use leverage to help us to transform how we handle knowledge, right? Either how we consume, how we acquire knowledge, and also how we produce knowledge. So, next chart. So, at PUC, we created this institute that try to develop, research new technology, AI technology, and disseminate AI technology. I want to highlight that to create new technology because sometimes we approach the problem as a nature event, right? Something that appears in the nature that you have to understand and learn how to deal with. But actually, it's a technology created by us, and it shouldn't be exactly how it is today. So we have to understand how we want, what's the technology that we want so we can design a proper one. So the idea that we are trying is how we can pursue that to use the technology to augment our capability in how we, as I mentioned before, how we acquire knowledge, how we produce knowledge, and also driven by a very relevant socio-economic challenge that we face today in our society. I'll give some examples in a follow-up chart. No, not yet. Sorry. Thank you. And to address that, we are trying to, in that attempt to design a proper AI technology, we are aiming to explore the use, the design and use of AI that we see in 2 dimensions. First, what we are calling epistemic AI. Some authors use the same definition in terms of a technology that helps us to either to pursue new knowledge or to acquire new knowledge. And also at the same time, when we talk about trustworthy AI, before that, we need some technology that we can govern, right? So we are pursuing to understand and design what we are calling governable AI. So a technology that we have control on that, so we can put our values and desires on top of that. Next chart, please. So I'll give 2 examples, touch the research dimension and the education dimension that we have been pursuing as part of our effort. So in terms of research, we are exactly pursuing the work on how to create, which are the properties that epistemic and governable AI should have, how we can create such technology, how we can access that we are going the right direction, right? In order to do that, we created a transdisciplinary team where we have anthropologists, designers, computer sciences, of course, linguistics, and so on, to work together in a transdisciplinary approach to pursue those goals. To drive that research, we have been working with other groups in different areas, like mental health diagnosis, legal conflict resolution, and so on. So these are just a few examples that I illustrated here in this chart. For each light blue box here, we are starting a specific effort with some partner exactly to explore how to use AI in those contexts. In many cases, those applications are driving research to create new AI technology that satisfies those aspects of epistemic and governable technology. Next chart. In terms of education, we created actually the first class. We start now in August, a bachelor in AI, and that course combined as this approach of a transdisciplinary perspective is a cross-cutting approach in all initiatives that we have in the Institute. To the best of our knowledge, is the first department in Brazil for sure, and probably in South America, that bring that more holistic approach. So we are not connected in the engineering school. We are a cross-cutting effort across the whole universe that facilitates a lot how we integrate the different departments in this. And the course was created combining those 4 pillars, right? A humanistic dimension, what we would expect also with the technical scientific pillar in terms of AI technology, and also what some people call soft skills, but like skills that make us human beings, like interpersonal leadership and skills, innovation, entrepreneurship. So we have those 4 pillars in the course to create a professional that can perform in different dimensions as researchers, as professionals in a company, or create their own business. But the next chart, please. But the first pillar, where we have this multidisciplinary and humanistic approach, we are making this what we are calling AI epistemic track, that actually this is, and right now we are looking at how we can leverage that track in other bachelor courses, because today the creation of new AI tools is not a monopoly of computer science, right? Everybody is starting to create their own applications using natural language. I have friends that are lawyers that they are creating their own chatbots to handle their clients in their offices and so on. So all those concerns in how to use and how to create new AI technologies in a responsible way, it's a concern of all professionals nowadays. So we are starting to get that track that we are calling epistemic AI as a track that we can instantiate to other disciplines, other courses, including a program that we are also starting to as a continuous education for our faculty members, right? Because it's not only the students that have to learn how to use that. We also have the same challenge. Things are evolving too fast. So we do need And it's not only guidance, because to be honest, nobody knows the answer, but we need a forum at least to discuss and learn together what we should do and how to approach that. This is a big challenge. At the same time, for me at least, it is very motivating. Like, we don't know, things are evolving too fast. We don't know exactly how to solve that. So we have to approach that and learn as we do, because if you wait to learn, probably will be too late. So in order to do that, we will have to apply all the knowledge that we create over the years in terms of observe and react fast. And here's why this transdisciplinary approach is fundamental, because I have to put together all the knowledge that we have from the different disciplines to work together to address this challenge. So this is an initiative that we started in the beginning of this year. The course is starting now in August, but we have a very interesting project already running, and I would like to close with invitation to anybody that would like to join us in this effort. Will be more than welcome. The challenge is too big. We do need to address that in a network, as a network effort. Thank you.
Yes, a bit shorter. Well, I was asked to intervene here, and thank you for the invitation, as a rector of a university, in order to show you what are the challenges for a university as yours, as mine, with AI. So I will try to explain that I find that we have a role of responsibly innovate with AI. So next slide, please. So I will talk of our missions, of course, education, research, but also university organization, because I think that very often it is neglected, and there is a huge challenge there. And I will conclude to show how perhaps we can build together a responsible way to innovate with AI. Next slide. So if we look at the history of AI, it's long, but the history of AI in education is rather short. It came with ChatGPT. We suddenly discovered the generative AI, and the first reaction that happened was, for instance, what we saw in Sciences Po Paris. They said, "What? It's a threat, and so we will ban AI." And second order reaction, next slide, please. And I'm happy that in my university this was the first reaction, is that we embraced AI because we saw that there were possibilities with AI to integrate it in our pedagogical methods, but also to question those pedagogical methods, including the way we evaluate students. Because, of course, evaluating them with essays was no more possible, or at least had to be questioned, because we know that AI could do the job for them. So it was an interesting way to innovate pedagogically, and we had, for instance, in my universities, a group of different academics who came together and who exchanged concerning their initiatives. There was a professor of law, for instance, who for her exam asked her students to do an essay by themselves and an essay by artificial intelligence, and to critically compare the results. And they obtained very nice results, and it was a way for students also to interrogate the quality of the AI results. So we also decided to educate our students in AI, and we launched, and it's similar to what Renato mentioned, even if it is a bit in size, not in the same size. We propose a course to all students of the university, whatever the field they have, in AI, and a cross-disciplinary course. So it's taught by people from ethics, from computer science, from sociology, from management, from a lot of different fields, in order that they bring them their point of view on AI, and also that they bring them critical thinking concerning the use of AI. But now I will come to the third wave. Next slide, please. The third reaction, and this is recent for me, and I'm modest. I'm not an AI specialist, not at all. So I discussed recently with a professor, and it's a young professor, I want to say that, a young professor in cybersecurity. And he mentioned that he was frightened. I quote him, "I'm frightened by the uncritical adoption of ChatGPT by students. We are at risk of graduating incompetent students who think that an AI friend will solve all their intellectual challenges." So he had an experiment in his classroom where he asked students to make a programming work in cybersecurity. And when they came in the classroom, he asked them to modify one instruction, and only 4 upon 30 were able to do that. Why? Because they did not even understand their code, because they asked an artificial intelligence to code for them. So there, in fact, we are for the moment questioning the way we can really integrate AI in order to guarantee the quality of the teaching, the quality of the students that go out of our universities, and it's a kind of consideration, the speed of adoption, but also the speed of change that we have difficulties to follow is really something that we did not grab at the first moment. So I think that it's questioning our role, our objectives, our values, and that we really have to question the use of AI in the light of those aspects. Following slide. So research, of course, also is affected or impacted by AI. It was mentioned by the colleagues just before, and it's not new. If you look at pharmaceutical industry, for instance, they use AI for a long time, and it's helping to discover more and more drugs and more rapidly. So it's very interesting, of course, and you see the curve showing that, in fact, we expect that artificial intelligence in the variety of the uses that it can provide will help us to discover more and more possibilities in pharmaceutical industry, but also in other fields. Next slide. But of course, it is also coming with some recommendations. European Union has proposed in 2024 some recommendations. You see recommendations for researchers, but you see also that there are recommendations for us, as research organizations. They say we should guide the responsible use of generative AI, and also, and it's perhaps more important, actively monitor how they develop and use tools. Integrate and apply these guidelines, adapting them and expanding them when it's needed. So we are also responsible for the monitoring of the uses in order to really adapt those rules because it's evolving so fast. And the last, and I find it so important, first, previous slide, please. Previous slide, thank you. The last, for organizations, we have to deploy our own generative AI, and perhaps it's something that we could think about together in order to also ensure data protection and confidentiality. And we know that in research it is very important. Next slide. There is a paper that I recommend you. It is a very interesting and easy to read paper by Messery and Crockett in 2024 in Nature. And they mention that there are risks in research, that there are illusions. They mention illusions. Illusion of explanatory depth. We think that AI is explaining more than it does, in fact. Illusion of exploratory breadth. We think that AI is considering all hypotheses, but it doesn't. And also illusion of objectivity, the fact that we think that AI is objective while we know that there are biases, and very strong biases in AI systems. Next slide. So, of course, we don't have to neglect the use of AI in research. There are possibilities. They mention in the same paper that it can be an oracle helping us to generate hypotheses, to synthesize scientific literature, that it can help us also to generate artificial synthetic data, that it can help us to solve very complex problems, that it can help us also to detect the best research. So there is, of course, an opportunity, and there are a lot of opportunities in research. Next slide. But we have to take into account, and it was mentioned also by the previous people, epistemic risk of science monocultures, because AI, in fact, is shaping the way we understand the world with a certain bias or a lot of biases. Monocultures of knowing, monocultures of knowers. And so there is plenty of place for research also. Our role also is to do research concerning philosophical, epistemic questions, cognitive science questions, and also, well, social and political questions. And this is not so easy because, in fact, when you discuss with policy makers, with decision makers, they want you to make research in technology, and they don't want you to make research in social sciences or humanities. So we have also a role to convince policymakers that it is very important. Next slide. Now I come to university organization. There also, and it is not new, there are plenty of opportunities to automate or to enhance the way we administrate our universities, the way we profile students, predict their results, the way we tutor them, the way we assess and evaluate them, the way we adapt systems in order to personalize them to their needs, But once more, it means that there are difficulties. And next slide. The fact that, and this slide is a bit obsolete because it was shown that students, in fact, have now 82% of them have adopted AI, as it was mentioned. But if you do look at the difference between the adoption of AI by students and the adoption of AI by the personnel, would they be faculty members or would they be administrative personnel, there is a huge difference. And there it means that we have really to educate our personnel in order that they are able to use AI at the best possibilities, but also with care. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, I hope, well, I was too long, that we have to be responsible innovators. Next slide. So there are ethical principles. I want really to emphasize the sustainability principle because AI comes also with risks in terms of environment, proportionality, use AI when it is needed and not at any time, and inclusiveness because all of people are not able to use it. Next slide. I pass this one, next slide. Well, so in summary, we have to empower the trainers. It's very important. We can capitalize on our internal competencies because we have a lot of scientifics in a variety of fields who are able to help us. We have to prepare students to be responsible users and to understand the opportunities but also the threats, to integrate ecological and social dimensions, to do research on AI with cross-disciplinary approaches, it's so essential, and to use the power of AI in research with intelligence to inform policymakers and managers of the dangers but also of the opportunities, and to align AI with the university goals, missions, and values. Thank you for your attention.
All right, so I'm tasked with not looking so much at the technical side of things, but looking at more of the larger context around here. Next slide, please. So just 2 weeks ago, Pope Leo XIV gave a speech, and this is just a section from it. For its part, the Church wishes to contribute to a serene and informed discussion of these pressing questions by stressing above all the need to weigh the ramifications of AI in the light of integral development of the human person and society. This entails taking into account the well-being of the human person not only materially, but also intellectually and spiritually. It means safeguarding the inviolable dignity of each human person and respecting the cultural and spiritual riches and diversity of the world's peoples. I just realized I forgot to set my timer. Next slide, please. All right. This is a time of great need. I think that Pope Leo taking that name of Leo XIV has made it very clear that he sees this as a huge priority. I think that everyone in this room probably recognizes that there's something big going on here. Our students need us, our institutions need us, the world needs us, and we need each other. This is a time where we need to be talking about this constantly because the technology is changing almost every day. Next slide, please. This is a picture of Pope Francis. I like this picture because Pope Francis is on one side and I'm on the other side of the picture. So this is back from 2019. Next slide, please. So Pope Francis has been talking about these issues for a long time. Pope Francis was very good at listening, and he listened to business people who came to him in the mid-2010s, and they said, Pope Francis, pay attention to artificial intelligence. It's becoming a big deal. And so, based on that, the Vatican has multiple initiatives on AI happening right now. The Pontifical Academy for Life is talking about AI. The Dicastery for Culture and Education is talking about AI. The Pontifical Academy of Sciences and the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences are both having things on AI. The Minerva Dialogues, which brings tech leaders to the Vatican, is talking about AI. And there's more than that. It goes on and on. I worked with the Dicastery for Culture and Education and its precursor, the Pontifical Council for Culture, for 6 years on two of its main AI initiatives, one of which is focused on culture and, on technology, culture side of things in the industry itself. How do we help the industry think more about ethics? And we have a picture of a book up there, which is a free book available at the Markkula Center website called Ethics in the Age of Disruptive Technologies, an Operational Roadmap. That is so people in the tech industry can figure out how to incorporate ethics into their own corporate setting. And secondly, a group working on the academic study of AI and its impact on individuals and human society. Next slide, please. Pope Francis, in other words, started preparing early. The church also started preparing early. If you want to think about it this way, all of Catholic social teaching is also Catholic technology teaching. And I really want to drive that point home, hence the bold underline, right? This is where I want you to think about what caused Pope Leo XIII to write Rerum Novarum. It was because of the Industrial Revolution, because of technology. And that theme of technology goes through all of Catholic social teaching, becoming more prominent with time, becoming extremely prominent with Pope Francis. And now with Pope Leo XIV, I think we're going to see this taken to the next level. I don't know what that's going to look like, but it's going to be, I'm very excited about it, I must say. So you can look at Laudato Si in 2015. You can look at many speeches that Pope Francis gave. Antiqua et Nova is kind of the most important document that the Vatican has put out on AI to this point. It was issued by the Dicastery for the Doctrine of Faith and also the Dicastery for Culture and Education. It was in January of this year. And there's been a consistent and active support for encountering AI. Next slide, please. So one of the books that the research group that I'm a part of published is called Encountering Artificial Intelligence. And we talk about this from many perspectives. One of the perspectives is AI in education. And one thing that I wanted to emphasize is that AI does not actually personalize education. What AI does is it individualizes education. It does not personalize education because it actually removes one of the people from education. It takes the teacher out of it. It keeps the student there, but it removes the teacher. And depending on different contexts, it might remove various other people from this, or it acts as a mediation between people, the engineers behind the program, and whoever is using it. So in that case, I think we should think about individualized education, but it's also extraordinarily centralized. We heard several people talk about monoculture, and that's really an important thing. AI is also damaging encounter between the student in the form of damaging student-teacher trust and also student-to-student trust. My daughter is a second-year student now at Santa Clara University, and she's had trouble with people in her groups when they do group work. One of the people just does everything via AI, and they say, stop using AI, and he says, and he can't stop using it. Some people are just clearly addicted to AI, and they don't know how to do school without it at this point. Next slide, please. So a few guidelines that we came up with from that document. By the way, Encountering Artificial Intelligence is another free book which is available online. AI should assist and not replace people. Education should form people towards virtue, including the virtuous use of AI and development of AI. So we're talking about both the users and the developers. Promote solidarity for educators, students, and all of society. Solidarity is being damaged if you think of AI as interfering with those trusting relationships. Next slide, please. Subsidiarity, how do we solve problems at the lowest level when AI as a centralizing technology is taking that decision-making capacity away from us? We need to avoid a consumerist model of education. Education and students are not products. AI's concept, or context rather, is going to promote that perception because it is being sold as a product ultimately to make money. Avoid the technocratic paradigm. Efficiency is not always good. Ethics takes priority over technology. Next slide. This is an illustration of that case. Optimization of education using AI. Teacher uses AI to create assignment. Student uses AI to complete assignment. Teacher grades assignment using AI. End result, a highly efficient educational institution, right? Is that what's happened here? Highly efficient. No education's taken place here, except perhaps, and I'm going to quote one of my colleagues in the AI research group, Luis Vera. He says, we are socializing ourselves to our own obsolescence. Think about that when you're using AI. Are you socializing yourself to your own obsolescence? Are you figuring out how to replace yourself? And so the question is, why not replace all of us with AI? Next slide, please. Okay, so consider weightlifting. This is a metaphor from another person in the AI research group, Jordan Wales. When someone goes to the gym to lift weights, they don't bring a forklift to lift the weights for them. The whole point is to lift the weights yourself so that we embody the strength that we're seeking. This is what a classroom does. You don't bring a forklift to the weight room, just like you don't bring ChatGPT into the classroom in particular contexts where it's not supposed to be used. We have to embody this ourselves. Next slide. Forklifts do have legitimate uses, however. Students need to be strong enough to lift the cognitive weights on their own. They also need to be skilled enough to drive the metaphorical AI forklift when appropriate. this adds a new layer to education. In other words, everything that we've done previously is still valid. However, there's now something added on top of that which is more difficult. So we have the original layer of cultivating humanity and a new layer of using AI in the correct context. Next slide, please. So this becomes a discernment question. How do we know when is the right place to use AI? Is it a weight room skill or a forklift skill? That's the question that I want us to all be asking. Next slide, please. So the learning process often creates a useless product. It creates a bad essay, ugly artwork, a bad presentation. All those things are actually good, because if the student is learning the process, even if they're creating a bad product, they will get better in the future. We're trying to develop people here, not products. There's not a giant market for student artwork or student presentations or student essays, unless you're cheating, right? Then in that case, you want to buy these things and sell them. AI shortcuts make a product without educating the person in the process. This literally ruins education, and the students already know it. I want to emphasize that. Next slide, please. And the headlines are getting out there, right? Everyone is cheating their way through college. This is a very prominent story that came out just last month. Professors are using ChatGPT. Students are not happy about it. Next slide, please. The future is uncertain, but some skills are always useful. I'm not going to list all these skills just because I want to keep us moving. We can't predict the future, but God willing, we are going to be in the future, and therefore we need to be prepared for it, and we need to prepare our institutions for that. Unpredictability is already very hard on students. My master's students in computer science are having a lot of trouble figuring out what they're going to do because they're just not getting hired in the way that they were. So what we want to do, we want to re-emphasize or double down on the distinctively human, all these traits here, personal, embodied, things that are not things that ChatGPT can give you. AI might replace a job, but AI cannot replace you. This is something that we need to tell our students. They're going to lose their jobs at some point, or they're going to have trouble finding a job. And when that happens, they need to know that they have not been replaced as human beings, they've been replaced as a job, and they are not the same thing as their job. Next slide, please. Social and economic disruption is going to cause widespread questioning of meaning. If you find meaning in your work, and then you have that taken away from you, you need to find another source of meaning. So we need to prepare students to answer those. Everybody needs to answer this question of why we are here on Earth. What are we doing here together? If AI can automate everything, have we all made ourselves obsolete? That's the question we need to answer. Jesuit education is extremely well placed to answer these questions. Thank God. All right, we're at the end. All right, not every use of AI is good. Schools need to teach the same plus more. We need to use AI when appropriate and then double down on the distinctively human. I'm happy to talk about these things all the time. I love this subject so much, and please email me, and now we're going to have a conversation. Thank you. Is this on? All right, it is on. All right. So, first question for the panelists, just to get everybody warmed up. So any reactions to any of the presentations that you saw? Anybody want to start with talking about what their reactions are to each other's presentations? There you go ahead.
Hello. So thanks to all the presentation. I think all the presentations were very interesting. I think the message is clear. So AI must serve the goals of education, not verifying them. I think everyone here, we all spoke about ethics, about how to use correctly AI, and that this is something that it exists right now, and it's gonna stay for a long time. So we need how to teach with these tools. I like very much your metaphor, Brian. It was very nice. Everyone laughed a lot here with your metaphor, because it's true. I go to the gym every day, so it makes sense, because AI should be used carefully. And with some principles, and we have to teach to the students that how to use them correctly, how to which are the tools that they have Because if we don't do that, I think they are gonna follow the AI without thinking, just accepting that this is the truth, and you know, we all use ChatGPT, and sometimes the answer is wrong. So we need to teach them how to use them correctly and to be more productive with that.
Yeah, perhaps your point, Brian, concerning the fact to put the human at the core of the process and coming back to what makes us humans and what will the machine never replace, because we are humans. I think that it's certainly the core reflection, and all what we have discussed here, in fact, turns around this core question that we have to look at, and that is also at the core of our mission, because we try to educate human beings that behave in the best way in society. So I think that this is perhaps the key point that I would keep from all our presentations today.
Thank you. Other thoughts, Renato or Pablo?
Hello. Yes, well, I think everybody liked your metaphor, so congratulations, that was a good one. Actually, it was interesting to see how all of us share a very similar point of view in terms of challenge and directions or goals to achieve. At the same time, it's not a new thing, but it's still unclear how to achieve the goals that we are drawing, right? In the first two presentations, I think we can pick up some suggestions and recommendations, but we see a lot of challenges in how to implement those approaches when we go inside our universities. And when I heard the discussion yesterday about the challenge for the secularism, I see several commonalities about that dialogue and the kind of dialogue that we have to implement to address AI. I think I face very similar problems, and goes back to the challenge to how to establish meaningful dialogues nowadays. It seems we are not in a good moment. I mean, probably we are in a very good moment to go after, to establish good, meaningful dialogues. But I see a lot of commonalities between those challenges in terms of connections.
It's working.
Now? Yeah. Thank you. Now it's working. I totally agree with all of you. It's a very good thing in a way, but I think that is not that good in another way, because I think our perspective and our core challenges that we identified in our presentations are crucial today, but maybe in this panel there are some other voices missing, maybe the students, because I was expecting a little bit of debate, but I cannot debate with you because I agree totally with you. So maybe it's a good thing because we have clear goals and challenges identified, but maybe we need some more voices.
Yeah, that's a really good point. No matter who's on your panel, there's always someone left out. So there's always more to talk about, and which I think is why dialogue is so important and continuing to think about who we need to talk to. All right, second question. How can IAJU as a network of institutions be supportive and collaborative when it comes to the transformation brought to us by AI? Any thoughts on that?
Perhaps a first element, I mentioned some proposals in terms of recommendation of the European Union, but we could go further. What are the recommendations of the use of AI in Jesuit universities? What do we put as specific values that we want to pursue that in the use of AI? And a second point, and probably it's larger than our universities, but how do we build systems that we master completely and that are not, as it was mentioned, owned by GAFAMs that finally hide how they do things? How do we master really this technology by developing, co-developing together systems that are the best for universities in our roles of researchers and educators?
So, it's working now. So I think this is a very good question, and it's not a very easy answer because usually working in network is a little bit hard. But I think it's important to define what is AI for a Jesuit university. So that's one thing that I think we should work in. And in that way, establish a network specifically for that could be also important. And it could be also a good idea because I think everyone here in each university is having its own policy about AI, about digital stuff and so on. But what is the philosophy that Jesuit University should follow? That's so some of the ideas was given yesterday by the general. But how can we implement that? Maybe we can find I don't know, a course specifically of how we understand this specific topic. That could be also an idea.
Totally agree with Professor Patiño because I think that the core strength of the network is the variety of situations that are in all Jesuit universities, and we need that variety to somehow try to deal with this new thing because there are small universities, big universities, Jesuit universities in non-Catholic or non-majority Catholic countries and the opposite. So we need to escape for that monoculture, for that vision that is too narrow, and we have here a huge variety of situations, needs, and we can leverage on it.
One thing that also you point out in one of your last charts is that I do believe that Jesuitic universities are very well positioned to address that. I used to say that it's a need, because if you don't do that, any university, if you don't approach this challenge, we have a high risk to go to irrelevance space. But at the same time, it's opportunity because, as you point out, and the kind of challenge that we have been facing as universities are similar, and we faced that in the past. So it's not a guarantee that we'll succeed, but I think we are in a good position. So following we should hope that we keep the hopefulness to address that. So I do believe that for us as Catholic and Jesuitic universities is a no-brainer approach. But again, individually, as institution by institution, our impact will be very limited. So I think the network is fundamental. And I have a sense of urgency because it's not something we should do that now, like we cannot wait too much. But I do believe that to approach this, we have to do that as a network, and that could be a kind of laboratory. Because can AI help us to enable that network in a more effective way compared to things that the previous attempt, right? That would be a good challenge to learn it as we do, right? To see if we can leverage technology to enable that network to approach the challenge with the pace that we do need. Yeah.
All right, and I'm going to answer the question just because I have an answer, at least not the answer, but an answer. So, an idea, I would say. This is one thing which I think the pacing problem is what they're calling it with AI, is that the pace of AI is so fast, we cannot slow down the development of AI. People have tried, they've said, let's have a moratorium or a 6-month pause or things like that. That is unrealistic. What we can do instead is we can accelerate the pace of conversation about AI. So we can't slow down the technology, but we can speed up our response to it. And I think what we have as a network here, as each of our individual Jesuit institutions, and as something that we can come together and talk about, is the opportunity to really accelerate this conversation, take it to the next level. We need, if AI is moving 10 times faster, we need to have a conversation that goes 10 times faster or has 10 times as many people involved in it. I think that's something that this network is highly well positioned to deal with. All right, now I want to open it up to questions from the audience.
Milton Javier Bravo, Vice President for Mission and Identity at Loyola, Maryland. Just a comment regarding the application that's been used to translate that has been highlighted. I can tell you in yesterday's presentation, and I looked over, the word dating in college campuses was not translated properly. So in terms of what you have said, it's not as efficient or intelligent in that sort. The question I have for you is regarding carbon emissions. And there are several now studies out there, one I'm looking at from German researchers, that depending on the prompt and the complex use of AI, that can generate 50 times more carbon emissions. And I'm just, and so they provide guidelines to how to use AI, and I'm not a technology person trained, I'm a theologian, and hence I asked the question. I haven't heard that perspective, how the use of AI, I think you alluded to it. I want to give you an opportunity to respond to that, particularly given Father Arturo Sosa's ecological citizenship framing that he provided yesterday.
I can perhaps begin, but you have also answers, I think. So, of course, I think that in our education to AI, the sober education of AI is very important because, as you mentioned, there are 10 times or even more, 15 times more consumption of energy through AI than through a simple Google query. And now you do a Google query and you have automatically artificial intelligence, if you note it. So it means that certainly this is one of the key points, and also research concerning this topic. How can we create sober systems? When I was a student, I remember we made prompts in order to be as economic as possible in the consumption of resources because we had so small computers. Now, in fact, we are used to have huge resources, and I think that we have to come back to sobriety in general in the use of digital resources, and especially because AI is so impactful for the environment. You're totally right.
I have to disagree with this because when you see the orders of magnitude of the energy consumption of AI on regards of traveling, for instance, flying, going by boat, going by car even, or even by bus, there are many orders of magnitude higher in those industries. And for instance, in clothing industries, every time we buy a t-shirt that we don't need, we are spending the carbon footprint of a whole year of AI misuse. So it's very important to be concerned about this issue, and I love to be concerned about this because it somehow helps to realize other issues regarding the carbon footprint, which are much more critical, like misconsumption of energy in other industries.
Yes, but 8% of the emissions of carbon are due to digital use. So it's not neglectable. Even if you're right that we can consume better and that there are probably more immediate ways to consume that could help even more. But certainly, digital consumption has a huge impact on the environment.
Yeah, but not AI by itself. All the.
But AI is increasing that.
Yeah.
One comment about that. Let's go just to highlight also how we have to organize it in a better way. Any number or statistics that you have about that today, tomorrow can be obsolete, right? Because the technology is evolving in terms of hardware to make that more efficient, in terms of software approach. So, and this is evolving all the time. So at any moment, those references can become obsolete and okay. So I think we should be prepared that very soon that energy consumption won't be a bottleneck anymore. Like if we try to analyze the evolution of technology, like if we assume that we'll stay in that way for too long, we will be obsolete. The decision will be obsolete very soon. So again, it's important that we have to keep the eyes open to follow those and react accordingly. But today is a big problem. But the whole industry is working to reduce that problem.
Just one thing more. I think it's a matter of education because each time AI is using, of course, there is some water that is the consumption in water consumption, an important water consumption, but I think it's a matter of education because if we teach to the students how to use that correctly when they need it, it's gonna solve the problem. It's not, I don't know if you remember, but a few months ago there were a fashion trend with cartoons, so it was the Gimsy cartoon or something like that. So everyone was doing that. And yeah, but we need to give to the student conscience that if you don't need to do that, why to do it? So I think also it's a matter of education, as everything in the world.
Yeah, there's certainly a matter of balance to it. If it's a good use of AI, then it makes sense to use it. But and then balance that against, of course, what's useful and what's not. Yes.
Hello. Yeah. So thank you for very insightful presentations. My name is Andrés Rosas. I'm the Vice President for Extension at Universidad Javeriana. And I was wondering, what do you think about how surprised people are on how good AI is for certain tasks and how bad it is for other tasks? Even the creators of generative AI are surprised by that. And so probably that says that the usefulness of AI is going to be very task specific for at least some time. And that frontier, that rugged frontier, is moving every day. So experimentation is going to be key, I assume. So how do we remain open to experimentation and at the same time worrying about the unintended harms, especially the ethical ones that AI can cause? Is going to be important experimentation. And experimentation is going to be very task-specific too, for a certain amount of time. So it's going to be personal experimentation. So how are we going to deal with that? Are there any specific tips practical tips that you can recommend?
Let's go to Pablo.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because I have addressed in many courses about AI. And that's why we spend some time explaining the underground of it, how they are built. Because when you know how they are built, you somehow realize that they are quite simple. They are huge computational power into very simple ideas, mixing things together, doing a lot of statistical stuff. So when you realize how they work really, you know that, okay, they're gonna make these kind of mistakes and they're gonna make these kind of good practices. So we have to learn how they work. Maybe I'm a computer scientist and I love that issue, but I think that we should do like a training course, a crash course about it, because we somehow remove the magic from it. There are very simple things with a huge computational power that costs a lot of money and energy.
And adding to that, I'm also a computer science person, so I share the same feeling. And you're totally right. It's a surprise to everybody, like how those very simple approach and techniques can achieve so good results. So that's impressive to everybody. In terms of experimentation, that you are also totally right about that. How we are approaching that in terms of classes is we are creating what we are calling AI workshops that, again, is a course open to all the centers in the university and bringing challenge like how to map the biodiversity in our campus with a student from the biology department, computer science department, how you build that, right? Or in terms of mental health support, diagnosis, how to approach that, discuss again with that multi-perspective approach to address those problems, to learn what we can do and what we should do, right? Not only every day we learn it's something new that we can do, but we are not evolving as fast about how we should be doing, right? But I hope with those forums we can also converge in that understanding what would be the right way also to use those technologies. And I think that, again, experimentation have to foster that as much as we can as a way to share knowledge.
And perhaps a point also on the education of computer scientists that we have also in our universities. Responsible AI is an explainable and transparent AI. And so this is something that we have to learn to our students in order that when they are in those firms developing those systems, they do it with this responsibility. And that finally we know what we do, because very often it's a black box, so we don't know what is behind this black box. So this education of responsible engineering finally is certainly something that we can have also in our schools.
Yeah, just one thing more on the engineering here. So, what I would like to say is that it's up to us to teach to the student. I agree with Paulo. How the AI work, I think, is very important. The basis of that, even if they are not engineering students, but it's like using a calculator right now. So it's very important to know, for all of you to know how to do a sum. So now it's very important to know how the AI works. So understand the basis of that, understand everything, understand the principle of that. It's very important to know which tools they can use in what case. I think is one of the things that we should do.
May I do one? I don't know. I do want to add a comment.
So short.
Very quick. One thing to add that is a discipline that in our experience we saw that sometimes we overlook is the design discipline, right? I think that helps a lot to make that bridge, especially with the dialogue problem that we have been touching all the time, to create bridge between the more humanistic side of the humanity and the more technical side. They are very good in establishing those connections, and this is a discipline that we have been leveraging a lot in our transdisciplinary approach. They have the concept of affordance that I think help us a lot to think about how to design technology. So I strongly recommend that.
All right. Thank you very much to all of you in the audience, and thank you very much to our panelists.